My name is Amelia Rose Estrada, and I am an all but dissertation PhD candidate in the Theater, Dance, and Performance Studies Department at Tufts. My research focuses on how dance participates in the cultural and historical imaginary of Dominicanidad, both on the island of Dominican Republic, which is where I currently am on a research trip, and also in the Dominican diaspora. I came to this research in part because I am a Dominican American choreographer and dancer, but primarily because I found that there was a lack of research in this subject matter in dance studies specifically, and I really wanted to be in conversation with other scholars who are writing and thinking about dance and dance practices in the Caribbean and the Caribbean diaspora.
I look at silver mining sites in contemporary Mexico that also coincide with either federal or state pushes for tourism, meaning cities, and three particular cities in my dissertation, where both silver mining and tourism have been heavily invested into as major facets of the economy. And in my dissertation, I essentially ask how people within these cities understand their relationships to things like leisure, labor, commodity, and abundance. So aspects of my research within these cities themselves, which in my dissertation include Zacatecas City, Oaxaca City, and Tasco, range from actual capital P performances, things like dance, skits, theater, whether at a community level or a state level, also range to protest art and installation, both online and in person, down to Google reviews, Yelp reviews, the way people are talking about something like a club that's established in a former mine, where the entire draw of the club is that it's I think 175 meters underground. There's also, in recent years, luckily for me and the richness of my research, been a boom in things like TikToks, where people are very overtly talking about their relationship to mining, but also things like identity, the way that Indigenous identity in particular relates to people's relationships to land and also relates to people's employment, say, with a mining company established in their cities or towns.
Hi, I'm Jenny Henderson, and my dissertation looks at how different artists, particularly Nina Simone, Inuk throat singer Tanya Tagaq, and visual artist Nona Faustine, complicate narratives of sexual violence and place through performance. Especially, I'm interested in sonic performance. This dissertation, for me, feels like it's a culmination of so many different things. My sort of lifelong interest in geography, coming from a family that, we have a small trucking company, so I'm always sort of like thinking about the road and about place. Also, my love of music and popular music, and also my lived experience as a survivor. I really felt like um, I had been frustrated with the dominant, sort of media coverage and narratives of sexual violence that so often reduced it to a singular isolated story or victim, and the sort of question of whether there's going to be prosecution for the assailant. And I just felt like that was so reductive. And I noticed that so many of the artists that I love so much and that I've learned so much from really put their own lived experiences and histories that have been mapped onto their bodies and that they held in their bodies. um, they put those into conversation with place and into conversation with context. So throughout the various different seminars that I've been fortunate enough to take at Tufts, whether it's Indigenous performance or research methods or performance and globalization, I really felt like I honed my skills to articulate a language that asks questions about power and agency and refusal in a way that honors the complexities of this project.
Hi there, my name is Mac Irvine, and I am currently in Austin, Texas, where I am doing dissertation research for my project, a performance ethnography of queer nightlife in Austin. So part of what brings me to this work is a sort of a deep respect and reverence for the work that I see people doing politically, performatively, through sort of aesthetic boundary pushing in nightlife. And I came to that through my community here in Austin. Um, and something that this project really is trying to understand is like, what are the stakes of doing this work? What is the longer history of political work in nightlife in Austin? And how do those sort of shape the form that this takes? So, thinking about like, how do particular people, places, and moments come together in performance to better articulate like what the political economic landscape is of the city. How does race, class, gender, sexuality, nation, how do those things appear in performance? How do they shape performance? How do people who are making in these nightlife spaces come up against them, but also push back against them, re-articulate them, reshape them? I think this project has really made me invested in the sort of how a close attention to detail and like a thorough contextualization can really not just offer context, but show an urgency, a value to work that in the realm of queer nightlife is often seen as you know excessive or escapist.
My name is Wenshan, and it means vehicle of knowledge in Mandarin Chinese. And so my dissertation is on how contemporary Asian North American artists fabulate and mythologize their ancestral lineage, diasporic lineage, spiritual connections, as well as intimacies with land and water. So Asian American subjects have always been seen as, not belonging here, right, as this kind of perpetual foreigners. But I am interested in how Asian Americans not necessarily claim their belonging by becoming these settler subjects, but actually by remembering their ancestral lineage, which the nation, right, or even thinking about inclusion and representation doesn't necessarily make room for that kind of knowledge. So it's articulating a way of knowing that is grounded in ancestors and mythologies, as opposed to the colonial conditions of disappearance and assimilation. So it started with my own trying to find where I belong, as many people do. So I started creating a short performance in graduate seminar, Karim Kupchandani's Foundations in Performance Studies, where we were asked to stage a performance based on a research question. So my question was very self-oriented. So like, how can I stay connected with my ancestral lineage as a diasporic subject? So I performed a song, a folk song from my from the Shanxi, North Shanxi region, where a lot of generations of my families were from there. And then I started to wonder, right, like, what does performance allow us to do? What does performances allow me to access, right, as a diasporic person? Like, if I'm not physically there, what are other ways can I embody this lineage and this history?